Stems completely changed DJing, but most DJs don't really know how to use them properly. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 stems techniques that every serious DJ should know. These are the tricks that will turn your mixes into performances. My name's Blakey, I'm a DMC champion. Let's get into it. Okay, now before we get started with the 3 techniques, I'm going to show you how stems work and how you can get the most out of them using Serato. Now, Serato is my DJ software of choice, but stems are now available in Virtual DJ, Rekordbox, Algorithm DJ, so it really doesn't matter what software you use. Now, stems will work slightly differently depending on the software. For example, Rekordbox only has 3 stems: drums, vocal, and instruments. But inside Serato, you have 4 stems. You've got the vocal, the melody, the bass, and the drums. If we take a look inside Serato, you can see here on this track I've got loaded, you can see my 8 hot cues. But you can actually change this view to show stems by clicking right here. Now you can see you've got these 8 pads that show you the stems controls, but you can actually control those 8 pads from your controller. Let me show you how. So inside Serato, let's go to the settings right here. And then under DJ preferences, you've got this option here, replace primary hardware pad mode with stems. Make sure this is ticked, and then you can choose which pad mode you're going to replace with stems. Now I always choose sampler. So let's come out of the settings. And then here on the DDJ Rev 7, all I need to do is go over to the sampler pad mode. And now you can see these 8 pads right here correspond exactly with the 8 pads that you can see on the screen. This works with pretty much any controller with Serato, and I highly recommend you enable this because it makes using stems way more fun and way more intuitive. So now you'll see I can turn any of the stems on and off, and I can have any combination of stems if I want just the vocal and the drums playing. I can do that if I want just the melody and the bass. I can do that. Now, one other super important thing when using stems in Serato is these bottom 4 pads right here. These control what is called stems effects, and these are awesome. Let me play this track and show you what each of the stems effects sound like.
Can't you see you're my delight? Lady, I just feel like I won't get you out of my mind. I feel love for the first time, and I know that.
Now I'm going to be using those stems effects throughout this video. Now there is one thing that I need to point out before we get into the demonstrations, and that is that stems inside DJ software, they don't sound perfect, and they probably never will sound perfect. But in my opinion, the stems inside Serato, they sound good enough to use in a club set. Some tracks will sound better than others, but most of the time, it sounds fine. Okay, this first mix I call the genre morph, because it is the perfect way of mixing between different sub-genres. Here on the left deck, I've got Lady, Hear Me Tonight, classic track that literally everybody at any gig that you do will know. And we're going to use stems to seamlessly mix from that track into something a bit deeper. Now, even though they're both house, they're entirely different styles of music. But trust me, this technique will allow you to seamlessly blend from that style into that style. I'm going to be using the stems pads to switch the drums and switch the melody and then subtly mix into this deep house track. So let's take a listen.
Lady, I just feel like I won't get you out of my mind.
Now, if mixing creatively is something that you want to learn more about, then you should check out my Creative Open Format DJ course. It teaches you exactly how to mix between different genres with flair, style, and creativity. And you'll also get access to my online community of DJs where we're about to hit 1,000 members. If you want to check it out, then just hit the link in the description. Okay, for our next transition, we're going to be mixing from an R&B classic track by Faith Evans into some liquid drum and bass by Lensman, and the track's called Open Page. Using stems makes mixing between completely different genres seamless and effortless, and I'm going to show you how. So we're going to start with the Faith Evans track and then gradually mix in to the liquid drum and bass tune. Now, first of all, these tracks are not in the same key as each other. And because we're going to be mixing an a cappella over a full track, it's really important that we match the keys. So if we take a look inside Serato here, you can see that this track is in the key of 8A and this track is in the key of 3A. Now, this is what is called the Camelot wheel code. Every track in your library will be assigned a number followed by a letter. The number is anything between 1 and 12, and the letter is either A or B. For two tracks to mix in the same key as each other and sound good, the numbers of both of the tracks have to either match, be one below or one above. So for example, if you've got a track in 8A, that will mix in key with a track that's in 7A, 8A or 9A. Same number, one number below or one number above. Mixing in key does go way deeper than this, but honestly, if you're just starting out, that's all you need to know for now. All DJ software nowadays will allow you to sync the keys by pressing the key sync button. In Serato, that is this button right here. So if I press this, you can see that it's now going to play the Faith Evans track at +1 semitones so that it matches the track on the other deck. You can see this is 3A and the track on this deck is now 3A. In my opinion, the only time when mixing in key is an absolute must is when you're mixing a singing a cappella over a full track, like I'm going to here. There are people out there who say you should mix every song in key with the next, but I do think that you can really overthink this, when really you should be playing the right song next, whether it's in key or not. If you're playing in a club, the people on the dance floor, they don't really care if the track you're mixing in is perfectly in key. They want the track to bring up the energy on the dance floor. And that, in my opinion, is way more important than mixing in key. But if you're mixing an a cappella with a full track, then mixing in key is important. One more thing we need to get right before we perform this mix is we need to make sure that the tracks are synced together. Because not only are we going to mix from R&B into drum and bass, but we also need to bring the tempo down during the mix to go from R&B tempo to drum and bass tempo. The Faith Evans track is 101 BPM and the drum and bass track is 171 BPM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sync the drum and bass track to the R&B track by pressing sync. And now you can see this is running at 101 and this is running at 202. This will work because the BPM of the drum and bass track is double. Now we need to make sure the tempo range is set to a value that will allow us to move the pitch slider down and gives us enough room. So if I move this pitch slider down now with the tempo range at ±8, you'll see that even though I've moved it all the way to the bottom, the BPM is still 188. We actually want to move the BPM down to about 175, 176. And to do this, we need to change the tempo range. So let's put the tempo slider back in the middle. And now we have the tempo range button right here. If I press this, we're now at ±16. And if I press it again, we're now at ±50. ±50 will give us plenty of room to move that pitch slider down to 175. So now let's take a listen to the mix.
Love like this.
And for our next demo, I like to call this one the stripped back sing-along. This is a technique that I like to use when I'm playing a track that I know the crowd are definitely going to sing along to. This always works with Fleetwood Mac Everywhere, but it also works really well with Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. And it's actually quite simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to play this track. When the first verse comes in, I'm going to strip everything back except the vocals. And then whilst I apply a small amount of reverb to the vocals, the entire crowd are going to sing along with that part of the track. And then halfway through the first verse, I'm going to bring in the melody, and then I'm going to bring the bass in and then take the bass out and then bring it back in and take it out again. And then when the chorus hits, everything comes back in and it will build up to this crescendo where everybody will start singing the chorus. Sometimes with a track like this, the best move is to strip everything away except the vocals. Strip it back, give it space with some reverb, and just let the crowd sing. And then bring it in for the chorus. Trust me, this one works every time. Let's take a listen.
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say. I speak a little louder, I'll even shout. You know that I'm proud and I can't get the words out. I wanna be with you everywhere. I wanna be with you everywhere.
Now, if creative DJing is your thing, then you should check out this video right here where I break down exactly how to plan and execute a multi-genre DJ set. I'll show you how to pick the tracks, come up with the transitions, and how to think outside the box. Click the video. It's right here.